Hey guys, Alex and Dad from 7th Hour Films back again with Doctor Who Classic. Last time we had The Awakening. What was that one about?
Remind me. It's been a week.
It was a two-parter where the Doctor, Tegan, and Turlough encountered a very aggressive Ren Fair.
That's right.
Where everyone was dressed up like it was the 1600s because they were participating in war games, which in and of itself is not bad. It's the fact that they decided to turn off safety on the holodeck, as they would say on Star Trek, and were openly ready to kill people, all for this demonic alien thing called the Malice. And then it was a giant face in a wall, and then the Doctor blew it up, I think. So
that sounds vaguely familiar.
Yes. So, but it was good. We both enjoyed it.
Yeah,
it was
did
a solid
remind us
two-parter.
of something previous.
Yeah, the demons. Yeah, so, but yeah, it was nice. It was good, and now we're on to Frontios.
Or Frontios, yeah.
Yeah.
Guess we'll find out. We always pronounce it wrong the first time.
Yeah. Frontios. Sounds Spanish. I don't know. Anyway. Yeah. I guess that's kind of that. Do you have anything else?
No, other than we're somewhat rushed today. Right after we finish this, I have to go down to the theater. I'm directing a wonderful comedy called I Hate Hamlet by Paul Rudnick, and we are auditioning the open call today from 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock in the afternoon. So, yay me.
So if this is your first time hearing of it, you're too late, because it's already over. 2 weeks gone already. So, yeah. There's nothing else really. No real updates for either of us other than we both injured ourselves recently, but that's a minor thing.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and I was telling Alex the surgical glue over my incision came off this morning. That's always kind of gross and weird.
Yeah. So that's our quick life update that we have to give for some reason. Yeah, that's it. Why don't we just go ahead and jump in?
That's a good idea.
It's like the shortest intro we've ever done.
Oh, a mining colony.
I love that mask. Oh,
Devil in the dark.
the mole
No
man.
mention of this to anyone. You hear me? Not to anyone.
If anyone asks where the captain is, he's in the bathroom.
A group of refugees from the doomed planet Earth.
Yes, that's enough, Turlough.
You mean some of the last surviving humans are on this planet?
Yes.
I think you can tell her she'll be dead by then. I was kind of hoping it would fall all the way and just crush someone. That's the sadistic side of me.
How often do you have meteorite showers?
Intermittently, although the attacks have become more frequent over the last few weeks.
Yes. The attacks?
Oh yes, we're at war.
Really? With whom?
Well, that is yet to be determined. As you can see, we're helpless.
I feel like
Not
you
if
should
I
have
have
determined
any
that already.
You're needed in the hospital, surely.
I've come to ask for more bandages and water.
We have unlimited supplies.
You have supplies. What's the use of hoarding them? Leader Plantagenet, the wounded need your help.
Make sure this woman is allowed access to the medical supplies room.
Yes, sir.
Love to know why they decided to use the name Plantagenet. Such a famous name in British history.
No, we had 10 years of clear skies to stock the wreck of the colony ship with food, and then it began. Yes, the first missile fell, a little over 30 years ago.
30 years? Your unknown invaders are certainly taking their time.
Unknown no longer, perhaps. Could it be that one of them calls himself the Doctor?
Well, you would think that if you were an idiot. Anywho.
And what do you think now?
I think your shelters are totally inadequate and your warning system does nothing but create panic.
I did not
Your
ask.
population has already fallen below critical value required for guaranteed growth and you're regularly losing new lives. I think, and you did ask what I think your colony of Earth people is in grave danger of extinction.
In parentheses, due to your incompetent leadership.
This invader has interfered with the great gift my father bestowed upon the people of Frontios.
I'm sorry, I was working out a way of getting some decent light in here.
We people of Frontios are vulnerable, Doctor. Desperate. Frightened, even. But we are not fools.
As the doctor rolls his eyes.
Could have fooled me.
You could actually hear him rolling his eyes.
Be careful.
This thing got a lid somewhere we could use?
Doesn't look like it. Oh! Ew.
No craft the size of yours is capable of traversing the universe.
If I had a spare millennium, I'd bring you up to date on time mechanics. Unfortunately, we have this lighting problem and a ward full of people needing medical attention.
Another bombardment. Not again? There's this darkening of the sky. Oh, it's all right. The wandsman will sound his klaxon at the first sign.
You came with 2 accomplices.
Wouldn't the first sign be the sky darkening?
Hey, you're not allowed up there. Look out!
Good job.
Oh dear. What have we here?
It's the wardsman.
Taken to the medical shelter.
Getting lighter.
The attack's nearly over. Let's get out of here. Come on, the TARDIS.
This is the one time the doctor's willing to leave.
TARDIS, what's happened?
It's gone.
Oh, it left the hat rack.
The TARDIS has been destroyed.
Well, all right, now, I can say that I don't think there was literally 2 seconds worth of padding in that at all. It's a very simple, straightforward story. They've landed on a planet which may or may not be the last colony of Earth. Some kind of mysterious forces are raining meteorites down on it. You got a paranoid young man with literally no leadership experience because his father has died. But on top of all that was the weird little clue at the very beginning. His father seemed to have been crushed, but there was something digging underneath him because you saw there were holes appearing in the dirt beneath him while he was down there.
Yeah. So, yeah. So far, it's interesting. I like that the biggest conflict in that episode was turning on the lights. I thought that was kind of funny, but yeah. Although, and of course, then at the end we get the TARDIS has supposedly been destroyed. But yeah, so far it's interesting. The 2 guys being like, oh, well, clearly they're evil, they're invaders. Like, okay,
Yeah.
I've seen that 1,000 times, but
The good part is, Science Officer Range is saying, you guys are a bunch of idiots. Can't you see they're harmless and they're trying to help?
yeah,
So at least there's a voice of reason.
yeah. Kind of reminds me of Peladon a little bit.
Yeah.
With the young king and the 2 advisors. So, yeah. So far it is pretty interesting.
If, on the other hand, you're going to kill me, you'd better get on with it.
Kill him.
No!
This wasn't what I had in mind at all. Oh, just residual energy from the TARDIS.
Good job, Turlo.
If these good people don't want us inside...
Yes, Doctor. I think I know how to change their minds.
Good job, Turlo.
Research room to be opened.
What's really odd, one of the curves on that hat rack is broken off. We have a hat rack that's not painted white down at the theater that has that same one broken off.
Hurry up!
Yes, careful with that thing.
I love how stupid that is.
Death's unaccountable?
He didn't think that through.
You've changed your mind about him too?
Commit myself on that. It was the doctor that saved your life.
The doctor's all right.
All right,
You must
good.
have realised that by now.
Tegan,
Your assistant may stay here with me. That way we'll all trust one another.
then perhaps you'll come with me, Mr. Range.
Yes, of course.
Good. See you later.
Right, you can keep Tegan for now, but we're not leaving here at the end of the episode.
Yes, without the failure, there would have been no crash. The guidance systems,
Something in the planet is pulling stuff down.
Well,
Looting started already.
I'm not really sure what they're looting. It's not like this place had anything to begin with.
Yeah.
Come on, just a little bit further. Tractators. Tractators.
Is this where Turlo is actually from?
Okay.
Well, I don't know. Maybe they're just a species that Turlo has encountered.
Yeah. Giant bugs.
Yeah. Tractators.
Which implies that they have some kind of tractor beam or something. I mean, it's just, given all the clues that we've been given so far, somehow they are drawing the meteorites down to the planet, maybe for consumption, and that's what brought the ship down in the first place. So maybe they're just looking for food.
Well, yeah. It kind of reminds me. There was an episode of Next Gen where, like, there were these super advanced beings that wanted to learn everything about the universe. But they didn't want to go anywhere, so they just had the universe basically come to them. I think it was like a Barclay episode where they possessed him or something. But I don't think they're doing this to learn. You're right. I think it is to eat and to consume. But yeah, very strange. And obviously the fact that they've only been doing this for 30 years, I guess. Those first 10 years they said were completely fine. I guess that could be, if they are aliens, maybe they shift from one planet to another.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Are you all right?
Get her out of here. I'll hold them off.
But Doctor...
Out!
I love they're just, like, real, genuine screams of pain.
Oh, I am. Lots of things. Nothing that quite fits the gravity of the situation.
Oh, what a...
Look.
Help me! Please, someone! Help me! Help me!
Notice a lot of
You more...
the cinematography in this is quick cuts and short scenes. Makes it a little more tense.
Well,
If anybody is on trial here, it's me.
Not a trial, Mr. Range. A pooling of information. Something we should have done decades ago.
You had the chance.
No. You had all the information locked up. If you'd shown us that, then Captain Revere, who with his bare hands held this shambles we call Frontios together, might still be alive.
Captain Revere knew about the creatures. He must have done. It's his fault. Why didn't he tell us?
And add to the rumors and unrest. You can't broadcast socially sensitive information unless you're in control of the facts.
But if we'd known for sure...
We'd have done what? They could explain the unspeakable events that we have witnessed.
Not witness, Brazen, if we're being particular about this. You and I have not actually seen it happen.
I have.
this is a weird situation where they're all wrong and they're all right at the same time.
Now, certain insects, kind of like earthworms, do burrow through the earth.
But the state funeral, we all saw the body.
Not the face.
Carcasses are plentiful on Frontios. There had to be a corpse just to keep public order.
Nobody questioned why we turned him upside down in the casket.
I'll come with you.
I prefer you to stay here with your daughter. The Reds are on the rampage. Things could get nasty outside, too.
I don't need looking after.
All right, Mr. Range. I'll accept your offer.
Can barely get down the ladder, but I don't need your help.
Tractators, dead ahead.
Ridiculous running around like rabbits in a hole, if you ask me.
No one is Tegan, so shush.
Nobody expects you to go back down there.
No, of course they don't. I'm Turlo.
I like how he acknowledges nobody expects Turlo to go down and be useful.
It's a corpse.
Not exactly. There's a living mind enslaved in the middle of that lot.
Face. I recognize it from somewhere.
It's Captain Revere.
Did they meet Captain Revere? No, because he disappeared before they got there.
Yeah.
Oh, but his picture was on the wall.
Oh, I guess.
That big, yeah.
Yeah. It's a bit of a stretch, and I know we're talking about giant armadillo shrimp alien things, but it's a bit of a stretch that they can't run a drill without enslaving a human mind, but whatever.
I like the fact, though, that they're, like the doctor said, highly intelligent.
Oh, yeah.
They have a plan. They're executing it to the best of their ability. When this planet plays out on them, they'll simply move on. Although, I'd like to know how these bugs travel through space. You know, they're not like space whales, I don't think.
Nah, probably not. But that was a good Star Wars reference. So, but yeah, I mean, in concept, they are very interesting. These kind of parasite things sapping away all the resources and everything, and with these gravitational powers. I still just don't understand why. I mean, I guess you just have to have some tie-in to, you know, like hurting the people specifically. So, but it kind of makes you also question, what were they using to power the drill before they had Captain Revere?
Well, probably some of the other mysterious, unexplained deaths over the past 30 years.
Oh, yeah, I guess so.
Now, I mentioned this while we were watching. This episode, if it had been broken down into the various portions and all kept together, could have really been a drag. Again, I credit the director, because I don't know if it was in the script, but the director said, I'm going to do 3 minutes of above ground, 3 minutes below ground, 3 minutes above ground. And so it kept us going, wait a minute, you just about to do something? I know we're going to go back and catch up with these people. They're just about to do something. No, we're back underground with the Doctor and T. So that kept the momentum of the script going. Now, again, you and I are looking at it going, yeah, you know, space bugs. But so far, cinematically speaking, I'm still intrigued to know how this is going to turn out.
Yeah, so I mean, the only issue with the space bug costume is just the fact that obviously they're not the most mobile things,
yeah.
But they still work out. It's a very detailed costume still.
Yeah, and again, I like the fact that the villain, the leader of them, what was his name, Gravis? They never ever said that, but it was in the subtitles. Instead of being, you know, the scary monster type that he's speaking very deliberately, and that can be much creepier than just somebody who's, you know, growling and slobbering all the time.
Yeah.
2 specimens have come down to us from the world of Babylon and Demis. This is a rare pleasure.
Tasty.
How do you do? I'm the doctor. This is Tegan.
We know you, Doctor. At least by reputation.
Then perhaps you won't mind telling us who you are.
I am the Gravis.
Oh, Just going to make a sandwich with this butcher knife, which I will then conveniently use to stab the rat.
Well, I was gonna say, it's a good thing his outfit matches the floor.
Push him down the hole.
You can't side with them. They built the excavating machine.
Slight communications problem here, Gravis. My assistant hasn't been programmed in the ways of the world. Please forgive the naivety.
Play along, Tegan.
It is certainly a very convincing replica of a humanoid life.
I think so. I got it cheap because the walk's not quite right. And then there's the accent, of course. But when it's working well, it's very reliable. Keeping track of appointments.
He's gonna be slapped at the end of this.
Planning.
We will now demonstrate how the drive mechanism is installed.
Ah, yes. If I could just inspect the linkages.
I like that he's wearing glasses now.
Our skills steer the ship here.
You! They're gravity beams again, which explains why the colony ship systems failed before the crash.
But at the beginning, there was no bombardment.
Well, they gave you 10 years to establish yourselves. And then they started making their collection.
So, technically they were right. There was an invisible enemy.
The doc needs your help! This way!
Yes, against the great gravity bugs. Sticks.
Show you. I forbid you to touch the machine!
What's happening to them?
Please tell me they're not gonna ooze from the eyeballs again.
You know, because everybody uses a butcher knife to make sandwiches.
Well, you don't. It spreads over the whole piece in one stroke.
Yeah, I'll tell you the story of my brother and the butcher knife sometime.
No, just stunned. What do we know about these creatures?
The tunnel system is a gigantic ring, smooth and mathematically precise.
They're building a gravity motor.
What?
That's what they do to planets. They're going to drive Frontios.
Steer it through the galaxy under the power of gravity.
To steal and plunder wherever they go.
And breed. Infesting new planets. Nowhere in the universe will be safe from them.
So it's like the pirate planet again. Or what the Daleks were gonna do back in season 2.
TARDIS!
Oh no, all the round things are in here.
I shouldn't think it's even within your powers to reassemble them. Besides, what would you want with an old Type 40 time and relative dimension in space machine,
But I do want it, Doctor. The TARDIS. Infinite travel within my grasp.
This is actually a brilliant idea.
Gravis, please. Take everything else, but leave me the TARDIS.
I will have it.
Oh no, Gravis, please, I beg you. Spare me the TARDIS!
Have it.
What's he doing, Doctor? Sure, she isn't time to disturb his concentration.
I love the direction of, what do I do in this climax? Just kind of dance. We'll put the special effects over you.
Well, that's that. The Gravis is safe and well on the uninhabited planet of Kolkakron, exercising his animal magnetism on the rocks and boulders.
There's nothing but rocks and boulders out there. All the planets are deserted according to the TARDIS scanner.
Well, it's better than being among enemies, as we thought.
So, the last of mankind is, after all, quite alone.
Alone but in good hands, Plantagenet. Speaking of which, I know it's not much, but a farewell to them.
We've had this for 20 years.
Frontios
Please
is
keep
honored,
it.
Doctor.
There's an etiquette about these things which we've rather overlooked, I'm afraid.
Doctor, you've done so much for us.
Yes, quite.
I don't need to do any more.
Stop the engine!
No, leave them. They're all right.
What's happening?
The Gravis?
Oh no, this is something much more powerful. We're being pulled towards the middle of the universe. Trying to pull against
middle?
it.
Against what?
I don't know. I think we're about to find out.
It's been a while since we've had an actual cliffhanger into the next story.
All right. Once again, let me just say, think it's probably the director, but also the scriptwriter, having that constantly broken up into the smaller scenes kept it moving. And even though it wasn't the greatest story ever, it kept our attention. The sets, obviously, the costumes were very good. So overall, I liked it.
Yeah.
And the idea of this is the only bug who's controlling all the other bugs, that was a twist that we didn't see kind of coming.
Yeah. It also... I also thought at the end that Turlo might stay behind.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, well, they had what my planet never had, and so I'll stay behind and help them rebuild. Honestly, there's a part of me that thinks, how much did Turlo's story actually add to it? Because he didn't really, contribute to, the ending that much, other than just being there, but it's nice to have some of Turlo's backstory. They don't quite connect how it went from living on dying planet with the Tractators to being in British school on Earth, but I don't know, I'm sure there's just a connecting thread. Maybe they'll say it later, but still, it was good. Yeah, all the characters were interesting, because we talked about, I guess this was 2 episodes now, when it was Warriors from the Deep, where it's I'm glad that they're shifting. I guess they're not fully shifting away from the person in authority is just angry all the time and hates the Doctor and them, but they're doing it differently, at least. Yeah. So, and here, you had Plantagenet, you had Brazen, and then Range being the third sort of voice there, and that was all interesting. Maybe the one weakness of the story is, why did everyone keep different secrets from each other? Why did Captain Revere keep the Tractators a secret? Why did Range keep the unaccounted deaths a secret from Brazen? I guess he kind of says, it was on Captain Revere's orders. But why did Captain Revere at least not tell Brazen? Because Brazen makes a good point of, there's... you don't want this to cause unrest among the entire colony, but why would he not be aware of it, as he seems to be the head of the military? And
there is a parallel within the last several years. Here in the United States, we had many, many leaders who kept telling the world in early 2020 that the coronavirus would go away in just a few months. I even remember, it'll be, it's up here now, but it'll go. And it did not. And the more they kept saying, don't panic about it, the worse it got, because people didn't understand what they truly needed to do to keep it from spreading.
Yeah.
So, and again, that probably goes back through, civilizations throughout all time, where leaders think in order to preserve order that they need to keep information from the people. And that has never turned out well.
It's a difference. I get the argument of not causing mass panic, but just don't do that. You can still, if you come up with, if you come up confidently with information that you do have and be here's what we know, here's what we're trying to find out, you can make it work to where, in this one, as soon as Plantagenet gets sucked into the earth, there's looting. I don't know what... I guess they were really just looting food and weapons. That was pretty much it. So...
that is one minor quibble I have. The Rets, although they didn't have the complete uniform, they didn't look like they had been scavenging for long. They didn't really look all that different from the regular soldiers.
Well, I guess that's the thing, is that the Rets that we see... they were just on duty just right up until that point. We don't really see any of them that have already deserted and gone out into the wild. Yeah. Did they survive? Were they killed by the Tractators? I guess we don't really know that. But these guys, just as soon as Plantagenet's gone, even though it was quite clear that Brazen was running the colony after the captain's death, that they were just well, I guess we're done. We're just going to grab what we have and leave somewhere. I don't know. I guess it sort of begs the question of where do you go if the Earth is eating your people? So I don't know.
You have a flashback to the graboids.
A bit,
Tremors.
yeah. It's like just, I don't know, find like just a solid rock formation. So, but yeah, and then that, like the Rets are probably like the most underdeveloped thing in the story, which is not really a bad thing, but yeah, and especially too when they have this whole thing of like, oh, Cockerel, he'll be the next savior and stuff. It's like, well, and that didn't go anywhere. Like because they had the whole thing of like, oh, we're gonna take the ship, and it's like, who's left on the ship? Because Brazen and his men, the orderlies, are down in the cave, so there's no one there to attack. Yeah. So, and at that point, why would you do that? Like, just go and leave. Like they're probably the most underdeveloped thing.
Yeah,
but that it's not really necessary to develop them.
Yeah, the Cockerel thing again, totally out of left field. That gave me a flashback to The Life of Brian, where, have you ever seen Life of Brian?
I don't think
so. If not, we need to watch that. It's a Monty Python film, where the people are looking for a messiah, and they accidentally stumble on this young man who they think is the messiah, and he keeps telling him, "I'm not the messiah," and it's just like, he's the new messiah, and that's like Cockerel, he came back out of the earth, so he must be the messiah. We all must follow him. It's like, really? That's the criteria?
Yeah, like that is sort of a weird, like, well, he was spit back out of the earth. It's like, well, there's a reason for that then. You don't even know why this is really happening, so I don't know. But yeah. But all of them, even with Plantagenet and Brazen sort of being the, they immediately suspect the Doctor of being their enemy and stuff, which I guess to their credit, they weren't wrong. Like, there was an invisible enemy, they just got it wrong of who it was at first. But with everything, with like the bombardment and everything, it's like, well, like immediately you're like, well, is it a bombardment or is it just meteors? It's very unusual for these meteors to keep, sprinkling down, every so often for 30 years, but yeah, technically they were right about that, and that was interesting. But everyone was sort of right and sort of wrong about what information was being kept and who to tell it to, so I don't know. It was interesting.
Now, one little, again, a directorial fix for the whole last little comment on Cockerel there is if instead of, yelling out, "Help me, help me, help me," if he had said, "No, I'm not going to let this thing take me," and then, because of the distraction, he got back out, then I could understand people going, "Wow, what a strong man. He managed to escape the clutches of the, eating, the gobbling up earth." But, the fact that he was literally whining and going, "Please, please, help me, help me, help me," say, "You're on your own, dude."
Well, yeah, so... it's also weird that, well, I guess because there were the Rets, there was the one Ret guy who came in while Norna was making a ham sandwich with a butcher knife, but then Cockerel and his men came in, so it's like, I don't know, that whole faction, again, it's not an important part of the story, but it's just sort of a part where it's like, what's going on here, And then why did they need to tie her up there? Like, she wasn't going to be any trouble? I don't know. But yeah. Anywho, back to the actual story of this episode. I find it a little weird how much they emphasize the Time Lord non-interference policy when the plot of Doctor Who is he doesn't do that specifically. Like, why is it here that he's suddenly like, no, I cannot interfere, the Time Lords, they'll get mad at me. It's like it was specifically to do with like how young the colony was.
Yeah. And it seemed like the Gravis knew about the Time Lords.
Yeah.
So maybe it was maybe did the Gravis mention the Time Lords and the whole thing first? So he was basically saying, listen, since the proverbial bug is out of the bag, please, if anybody comes calling, please don't mention the fact that the Gravis or the Time Lords were here interfering, because we're supposed to. And again, he said we haven't been interfering for the last 500 years or so, so maybe the Gravis knew about the Time Lords before the non-interference policy.
Well, it was something of only the Time Lords have the non-interference, but the Gravis don't know. The Gravis knows of the Time Lords before the non-interference policy. So in his mind, he's like, oh, okay, the Time Lords are here. They clearly see our technological advancements, and I will show, like, to him, he was like, well, they're not going to care about me using some weak humanoid creature for my plans, because the Time Lords aren't like that. But I don't know, but the Gravis and the Tractators being there for 500 years, it was just that they were there for 500 years doing this work, and it was only 40 years ago that they found that a ship passed by, and they got it to land so that they could basically finish their work of turning the planet into a starship, basically. Yeah. So, but the Doctor is concerned that, I guess, because he does say it is sort of like the Star Trek Prime Directive. It's like the colony is so early in its development that even he has to stick to that non-interference policy, and if word got out to the Time Lords about that, that would be something that they would punish him for, despite the fact that for 20 years that's what the entire show has been about. Now granted, I guess there is precedent for him getting in trouble, because that was the end of the second Doctor's story, was him being in trouble and put on trial and being forced to regenerate, basically. So I guess that's what he's concerned about. I don't know. But yeah, and then we had the splintering of the TARDIS, which made for an interesting set piece, at least. Yeah. And then it was funny where it's like, oh no, we can't have Gravis. You can't, bring the whole TARDIS back together perfectly and then, take it and everything, and just completely tricking him. It's like, no, yes, he fixes the TARDIS, but that cuts him off from the rest of the Tractators. So, and then everything else, the Tractators themselves were interesting. Connecting them to Turlo was interesting, even though, like, I don't know, I just wanted to see, like, a little bit more of that, like, it was good, but it's like, we know that that's what happened to his planet, but again, I guess it just doesn't complete Turlo's story. Yeah. But it's at least welcome, because again, you guys have seen for the past season or so that we've had Turlo, we've been like, wait, is he an alien? We don't know, because he was on Earth, but that was at least interesting. So
I'm trying to think how many episodes we have left, because maybe they will finally resolve Turlo's issues.
Yeah. Well, all right, so things are interesting, because the next episode is Resurrection of the Daleks.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Now, here's the interesting thing, and people pointed this out in the comments, and I've noticed it here. It's technically a two-parter. However, each part is about 45 minutes long. And I think... What was the explanation? I think it was something about the 1984 Olympics.
Yeah.
That they were like, well, either we would have to have the last two episodes, since they do 2 a week, they'd have to have the second and third part after the Olympics, or it just wasn't going to work. So they instead were like, well, we'll keep the 2 parts, we'll do it before the Olympics, and then we'll just make both of those episodes double length. So, and that was apparently the inspiration for next season, when they start doing more of that, where it's 2-parters, but they're double length episodes. So
now, what's after Resurrection of the Daleks?
After Resurrection of the Daleks is Planet of Fire,
and then,
which is back to the normal 4-parter. Then,
okay, so we got 3 episodes left, basically. Because everybody's been telling us the Caves of Androzani.
No, looks like we have 4 after that. The Twin Dilemma is the last one.
Oh,
so
I thought everybody told us the Caves of Androzani was the end of this Doctor.
Maybe. I've definitely heard that. I've heard. I don't want to be like. I don't want to get us too hyped up for it, but I've heard like that is one of the contenders for best Doctor Who story.
Yeah.
So, we're not gonna hype it up too much in our heads before we go into it. But yeah, I've definitely heard about that one.
Yeah.
But I guess we have 4 left.
Oh, there's so many comments in our tour through Doctor Who that somebody said, "Why on earth did you watch Kinda when you could have watched the Caves of Androzani?"
Yeah, that you know what that. Don't blame us. That Kinda was picked for us, and what an awful introduction to the 5th Doctor, and just an awful episode in general. But that's beside the point, and we don't need to kick up dirt again.
There we go. Yeah. Moving on.
Yeah, the good thing is this episode was very interesting and
yes.
very good. So,
and again, not a incredibly powerful story, but helped, in my opinion, by the direction.
Yeah.
And again, the writer may have done it like that, but I think a lot of that goes to the director who said, you know what, rather than filming a 10-minute segment or even an 8-minute segment, let's do a 2 or 3-minute segment and then interlace it so that you kept going, wait a minute, jumping back and forth, and that kept your interest in it all the way through. Kept my interest anyway.
Yeah, there weren't, even though there were a lot of scenes of like, walking through the caves, it was, they kind of, they go through the cave just a little bit, have a line, cut, go to something else, and that generally worked better. What was the line? I'm enjoying, and I think now with the Doctor like putting on the glasses, I feel like they're going for more of a old man trapped in a young man's body with the 5th Doctor, because I love the line when it's like, oh well, it's hopeless to get through this, and if you ask me, and he's like, well, no one is, Tegan, so shush. And he just moves on with that. It's like, I feel like they're trying the like, and it's kind of a shame that in his final season, he finally got a groove, but honestly, I am enjoying that more. It's like you're right that he's lost the sort of the flustered, unconfident part of him, but now he definitely seems to be more of an old man trapped in a young man's body.
Yeah.
So yeah. Anything else?
I got nothing.
Then that is basically it. With all that being said, we're Alex and Dad from 7th Hour Films, and we will see you guys next time. Take care. Alright guys, thanks for watching this video. There's a bunch of links on screen if you want to go click around any of those. There's a playlist with all of our Doctor Who classic reactions, as well as another playlist for all of my modern Doctor Who reactions, which I guess those are technically back by this point. There's also a subscribe button and a Patreon button on screen, as well as other links in the description if you want to go check out any of those. See you guys later.